Good evening, Mayor Rotary, members of City Council. I am Kevin Cullather, and I am a resident of Highland Park. I am here this evening to address the reported conversion of a single-family home in Highland Park into a timeshare to be enjoyed, quote-unquote, by many families, guests, executives, and others. According to the reports in the Patch, Cranes, and other media outlets, in addition to selling individual shares of the property at 2700 Point Lane, the new owner plans to market the home for, and I quote, events like weddings, family reunions, corporate retreats, sports watch parties, bar mitzvahs, and more. From my perspective, this is clearly a commercial venture within a residential neighborhood. In response to the citizens' concerns, in 2022, Council adopted an ordinance regulating short-term rentals within our jurisdiction. This provision allows for short-term renting of dwelling units as long as it is an accessory use of a property with reasonable limitations to avoid nuisances and to limit rental frequency. To ensure that all short-term rentals are accessory and not principal uses, you included several provisions, including the property may be used for short-term rental is not a principal use. That using it as a short-term rental is not its principal use. That it must be owner-occupied or occupied by a tenant with a lease of at least 30 consecutive days each year. No short-term rental may be rented for more than 45 days per calendar year, and the number of occupants at any one time is limited to 12 individuals. It is possible that the new owner was simply excited about owning this unique Highland Park property and got brainstorming in front of the media without consulting his attorneys or others who are knowledgeable of Highland Park's code. I don't think so. He spent too much money to do that. But I do believe that these uses that he's suggesting are not what was envisioned by City Council when they adopted the short-term rental provisions within our code. I would also like to note that when the City Council approved the height variance for the property at 2000 Ridge, it included, at the recommendation of the Zoning Board of Appeals, a condition that prohibits commercial use of the barn on that property for any commercial purposes. So there is precedent within the city that says, and that you have spoken, that residences cannot be used for commercial properties or commercial purposes. Policies regarding have been set regarding short-term rentals. I do not believe the proposal put forth in the media by the owners is in compliance, and I ask you to put it on your work plan for 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager, if you could answer those questions, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I did communicate with Mr. Cullather this afternoon as well. So really three things. One, short-term rentals are possible in Highland Park, provided that individuals adhere to the city's local regulations, which are listed on our website. We have communicated that to the owner of the subject property that was referenced. As it pertains to timeshares, timeshares as it's defined of ownership interest in a property is not governed in the city's municipal code. And so it's not prohibited. It's not identified in the municipal code as such. And we've conferred with Corporation Counsel as it pertains to that. And we can elaborate on that if you like. The third issue is it pertains to use of residential property for commercial purposes, and that's absolutely not permitted. So if someone is having a wedding at their home or a birthday party, something like that, they don't need special approval from the city. But if they now are renting it out where people can host a wedding there or a mitzvah or some other celebration or event, that would not be permissible. And so we will certainly enforce any violations of city code accordingly.
Has anyone reached out to the purchaser to let them know sort of?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Community Development Director?
Yes, we have met with him during the holidays, Mayor, and we'll follow up with him based on these articles and what they've said to find out exactly, what the intentions are. In terms of short-term rentals, we do have that in our code. There is a limitation on the number of people. It's 12. And so whatever, they're gathering for, that we don't necessarily have any say on that. However, there is a limit of 12 people. So for a property that size, it would be fairly constrained.
Right.
That's only for short-term rentals,
Right.
though.
That's
It's-
correct.
Right.
That's not for that.
Now,
I think,
But he can't
people
rent the
yeah,
house
but-
out to have events.
But
Mayor,
People-
if I may, from a legal perspective,
You bet.
there's been a lot of conjecture of what this is in the media. I suggest we not base our response to what's in the media. It could very well be right that this individual was spewing off different opportunities that may or may not be allowed. We know what's allowed in our code and we know what's not.
Right.
This use, this particular, if I understand it correctly, and we have not talked directly with anyone representing ownership, they're dividing the ownership into different shares. Any of us can do that with our property. That's not a short-term rental. That's really not even a timeshare, even if we did want to regulate it. So we have to look very carefully and not react to newspaper articles. We'll look and see what it is, and we'll see if it's something we can regulate or cannot regulate. We will look. And I think,
Suffice it to say, our code will be enforced in whatever manner it is.
and no matter what, our code will be enforced. But I don't want people, there are terms that are very carefully defined.
Right.
And this proposed use may or may not fit within those terms, so they may or may not be applicable.
Great.
We
Thank
would
you.
encourage the public to contact us. So if they have any questions, any concerns, please contact us and we can answer those questions.
Sounds good. Great, thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard this evening?